This is the podcast where Black women of the 92% take a weekly moment to reclaim our right to a restful revolution. This is where we recharge and we experience a few well-earned periods of sustained joy and laughter. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, they almost got me this week. They really did. This nonstop, never ending fire hose of corporate news, the constant cycle of fear mongering and power plays by a bunch of incompetents, it very nearly pulled me back in. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But then I saw us. I saw Black women standing firm in our feelings. We were holding the line on rest and healing as our political strategy, as our revolution. And that reminder got me through. It really did. It got me through. So I am here this week to help you begin something. I've been pretty good at it for a couple of years. I'm here to help us begin doing it because I know for a lot of us, this is very new and it's something that's soft, it's slow, but it is absolutely necessary, or starting the process of pulling back our energy. This is actually how we do it, how we refuse to pour into spaces and people that just don't deserve us. Some of us have been conditioned, whether that's through history, through generational trauma, through our own lived experiences, to believe that we as Black women must always be available. We've got to always be giving. We've got to always be making the world a more comfortable place for everyone else. So, y'all, today, I invite you to consider something revolutionary. What if you started calling your energy back? What if we became more selective? What if you gently, lovingly, and without any guilt whatsoever started the process of reclaiming your power? I know this isn't easy. This might be the first time that we have even dared to believe that we deserve this kind of care and consideration, but we do. You do. I do. So let's get into it. Before we go a minute further, and I know I got us a little warmed up there, we're going to come back down. We're going to find some stillness no matter where you are, as long as you are not behind the wheel of a moving car. I want you to soften your shoulders. I want you to work to unclench your jaw. I want you to take a deep breath in, nice and slow and steady. And as you breathe, I want you to repeat this mantra. Use it this week, all this week. My energy is mine, and I call it back. Now I observe, I rest, I prepare. I'm going to repeat it. This is our mantra for the week. My energy is mine. I call it back. And now I observe. I rest. I prepare. Okay? That's our mantra. We're not just pulling our energy back inward for peace. That's going to be the delicious consequence of a lot of what we're doing. But we're also doing it because, remember, this is our political strategy. In times like these, when fascism is trying to creep in, actually, it's kind of stomping the fuck in. But when Black women are expected to work endlessly to hold up an entire movement, we have to sit back. Now is the time for Black women to observe. We still have duties. We're withdrawing not just for our own peace, for our own health, but now is the time for us to be watchful. Rest is now not just about our mental, emotional, and physical health. Y'all, it's about our safety. It's about protecting ourselves, our loved ones, and it's about protecting our future. Now, one more deep breath in through the nose, hold and let it go. You are so held. You are safe. You are preparing. And if this is resonating with you, please take a moment to subscribe to my Substack. This is where I'm going to be doing exclusive reflections and discussions. Your rest and your reclamation deserve the support of a community that understands the unique needs of Black women in these tumultuous times. We're going to take another breath as we jump into it, a nice deep one, okay? I want you to think about our history, not just history in the broad sense of our families and our own lives. Black women in this country, we have carried an impossible weight. We were expected to basically, when we were enslaved, work till we died. Children that, of course, we loved, but we could never protect, to keep going no matter what. And even today, those survival instincts, they live on in us, in our bodies. That suffering, that overwork, that fear, it still pulses in our veins. So much so that when we get an opportunity to rest or to pull back, we feel guilty. We feel like we're doing something wrong, but we're not. We're actually doing something right this time. There's this book, They Were Her Property, and in it, a historian named Stephanie E. Jones Rogers, she details the bleak feminine hellscape that Black women endured as enslaved people. She describes situations where we were expected to labor under It's an understatement to call the conditions brutal. We had to bear children, bleak feminine hellscape that Black women endured as slaves. Quote, where they were expected to labor under brutal conditions, bear children that they had little agency over, and to be continuously exploited. This legacy of suffering did not simply disappear. It lingers in our expectations of endurance today, end quote. And this is where I want us to get in our first journal prompt, the prompt. Where in your life have you been conditioned to overextend yourself? Where do you feel the strongest pressure to keep showing up, even when it drained you? Those are our first journal prompts, and I want you to enjoy those during the week, especially when you're having some tough times, remembering that you deserve this time and you deserve this rest and you deserve this moment to explore your own deep personal self. As a Black woman, we are not afforded that, very many of us, from girlhood on. And this performance of so much of the way we interact and we move as Black women, we've been conditioned to do this kind of performance of safety. And I know this personally because I grew up surrounded by traumatized, angry adults. My home life as a child, this is my early childhood. It was a home where the air was constantly thick with tension, like violence could break out. So I needed to have to pick up on that energy like it was my job, right? To prepare myself or to try to keep myself safe or figure out how or if I could keep my little sister safe. If there was any way I could help my mother. What were some of the things that I did as a girl to try to figure out if danger was lurking, if an adult was going to go off on me or hit me or start screaming or yelling at me? I learned all of these coping mechanisms. A lot of us do. So I talked, I fawned, I would try to make myself pleasant or funny or easy because I thought maybe if I could adjust the energy, if I could do anything, if I could maybe make a mad, angry adult smile or just be happy to see like a clean kitchen, right? Or a swept floor, things would then be safer for me. And so many of us do this every single day as Black women at work, in relationships, in public spaces where we are never allowed to just be. It's like we have to perform. It's not ever enough just to be ourselves. So we do these things that a lot of us don't even know that we're doing. We're over explaining. We may soften down our brilliance idea. We smile when we don't feel like it. We expend energy just to make other people feel comfortable, and it is time to stop. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, Black women experience intimate partner violence at rates 35% higher than white women, and childhood trauma significantly increases the likelihood of us as Black women experiencing toxic relationships in later life. It is no wonder that so many of us have had to learn to prioritize survival over rest and joy. A lot of us grew up like that, and I know that can be triggering. So with that in mind, we're going to do something about it, right? This is a part of us healing as Black women and prioritizing this healing. Let's do some more journal prompts. Prompt number 2. In what ways have you performed safety as a Black woman? What moments in your life have caused you to blur your own self out, to shrink, to over-explain, just to maintain peace? We're getting into it today, but that's okay. This is important. This is very important. We first have to understand how the things that we do just to make a way for ourselves in real lives is this unnecessary, unfair, expected expenditure of our energy. And we've got to be aware of it so that we see it for what it is, so we recognize the behavior so we can begin to arrest it. That's how we start getting our time back and our energy back. I'm so happy to have this conversation. So don't forget to follow me over on YouTube, where I've created an original video series that dives even deeper into these topics. Our journey as Black women, your journey is just beginning. And I am here to support you and the 92% every step of the way. It's an honor and a privilege to do it, to be perfectly honest. We are going to learn to say no. We are not alone in this. We have powerful examples of Black women who have withdrawn their energy as an act of self-preservation and liberation. And this week, there is no better example of this than Issa Rae and Shonda Rhimes. I don't know if y'all know this, but the man that they elected president has decided to name himself chairman of the board of trustees of the Kennedy Center. And Issa Rae actually had a sold out show that was booked there. Shonda Rhimes is on the board of trustees. And what they did in this last week, they basically just pulled their brilliance from the Kennedy Center. It was a very quiet, but it was a very profound statement We do not have to show up as Black women. We do not have to show up for spaces that do not honor us. And again, my forever vice president, Kamala Harris, easing back just into regular life. She left it all on the court, y'all. She's been going to shows. Doug's been taking her out on dates. One thing we can all agree on, that man like worships the ground she walks on. She is just back out being with her boo, just simply living. And yet the moment she stepped back into her regular life, white women demanded that she return to doing the work. The work of what? Not only like pulling the nation just out of its own mess and quagmire, that white women did not do enough to try to prevent happening. They literally demanded that she get back to work, do the work, make us feel better, fix this. Y'all notice that? You notice the pattern? No, and I have to be honest, y'all, I follow so many elections so closely. I do not remember people making this demand of Hillary Clinton post-election. But for a Black woman, we're down in the comments of Vanity Fair talking about get back to work, get back in the White House kitchen and cook up a solution to this mess that we made. The expectation is that she must always be on. We're not doing that anymore. So y'all, and hey, on one hand, we're astounded, shocked, and offended at the audacity. On the other hand, listen, if Kamala can sit back and sip a cocktail and put her feet up in Doug's lap and let him rub her feet, I think we can give ourselves permission to take a break too. We are not the world's emotional support Black woman. It's time for us to retire from that position immediately right now. Do it in Kamala, Shonda, and Issa Rae's name. Okay. We have our examples out there. Ugh, really? Like, we're going to be able to do this. I am so hopeful. I know we're going to be able to do it. I don't think it's any coincidence that these things are happening like every week. I promise you, every week, I'm going to bring you an example of how an amazing Black woman is showing us the way. I promise you. Call me on it. That's the challenge. Call me on it. I know we're like this. On this. This is collective consciousness. If everybody else don't want to do it, Black women will do it like we always do. But let's get practical now. Like, how do we start doing this practically? These are just a couple of things. Y'all, this can serve you in every aspect of your life where you want to pull back. Because y'all, I have to work on doing it all the time. I'm so used to doing it, even in spaces that I would tell you that I thought of as my spaces. Y'all see me like on TikTok. A lot of times I'll post from the dance studio or my little fitness club or whatever. These are places where I feel very comfortable and at home. Am I one of like 8 Black women in the whole place? Yes, but that's just where I happen to live. But that's a place I would say, okay, I feel pretty comfortable here. I love the ladies, but I find myself doing it even still, changing myself in little ways, being smaller, to make other people feel comfortable. It's work, and I've come a very, very, very long way. But that's okay. I'm bringing everybody along with me. So, what are some practical things we can do? And these are things I'm doing myself. First of all, you pause before responding. That is so hard for so many of us that are recovering people pleasers. That is so difficult to do because normally I want to jump in. Like I told y'all when I was a little girl, like, yeah, I'll jump in that quiet space. There's a time I used to not like silence. I want to be talking. I want to be kind of controlling the energy so I can see what's going on. No, we don't have to do that. So when somebody asks something of you, even if it's just your opinion, you get to pause before responding. You don't have to say yes to anything right away. If someone asks you for something, take a breath. In and out, in through the nose, out through the mouth, as though through a straw, discreetly. Give yourself time every time. You don't owe anybody an immediate answer. And here's another strategy. Audit your overgiving. Take a look at it. Look at where your energy is. Where is your energy going? Is it pouring into people who take and never pour back in? And don't just think about it in terms of just people, places, institutions. Are you overdoing it at your kid's school? Is the church asking too much of you? Is your family asking too much of you? You got a couple of toxic friendships that still just depend on you to always pick up the phone? Think about that. Who are the people that take and never pour back? Are you giving your time and your energy to these institutions, these things, out of obligation? Because I promise you it's not joy. Maybe we're not there yet. It has to come from a place of joy. I know that for a lot of us, it's going to be a long road. We got 4 years. We got plenty of time. It's all right. We're going to get there. But we really need to be thinking about that. This is serious because so much of racism is just energy vampirism. Just be making these subtle demands of Black people, of Black women all the time, keeping us depleted, tired, distracted, so that we're too tired to even feed ourselves in a way that nourishes us, keep us working 2 and 3 jobs so that we have to buy cheap processed food to just keep people, or even just to make ourselves feel better. We're going to get to joy. But right now it's important to do this audit. What are we doing out of obligation? And you don't have to do it real big all at once. Let's take this like in little micro steps, baby steps. Stop explaining to people why you're saying no. This is like a pullback, like a micro pullback. Stop explaining why you're saying no. Just say I can. I have too many projects going on right now. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I would love to, but I can't. Don't even say that. See? Oh, Lord. See? That's all right. It's a process. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't right now. I really cannot. Worthy cause, though, but I can't. And we're going to stop apologizing for not responding immediately. These little small acts, they add up. They can yield powerful change. These are just 3 small ways, little practical ways. And y'all, oh my gosh, Black women, we are still human. I know this. I want to say this because I was talking to a mutual this last week. Lola Toya writes, she really made me reflect and remember that we as Black women, we are still human. We have responsibilities. I know I come across very sunny. Y'all know I call myself, I'm a human ray of sunshine. My friend Sandy told me that. And I am owning it. I am claiming it as one of the kindest things anyone has ever said about me. Because of that, I'm really careful about appearing to be or being toxically positive. I know we have responsibilities, family, work, life to manage. I know that. But I promise you, if we as Black women, if we start small, if we begin today, we can begin to experience some peace, some joy, a full human experience for the first time. We deserve that. And I will always be here reminding us as Black women of what is possible. We have already moved mountains. Now we're about to be strong and rested up and creative and dreaming. Now is our time, and we deserve community and safe spaces to discuss this. So subscribe to my Substack. This is where we have deeper discussions, and I want y'all to follow my YouTube for the new original video series. We are going to rest. We are going to take our time. It is not just our sacred birthright to have this. It's owed to us. This is our strategy. We are trying something new. And I know we're going to be holding our elected officials accountable. Black women, we're always responsible. We're going to be civically engaged. Of course, we're always going to show up. We're not going to not vote. We're going to do what we know is the right thing to do in terms of our responsibilities. We are always going to do that, but we reserve the right to hold our leaders accountable. And we also need to hold ourselves accountable. Right now, it is their time to go out and fight and do the work that we elected them and that we pay them to do. And we're going to start being accountable to ourselves, and we're going to do it together, and we're going to do it in community. We deserve a safe, vibrant, flourishing community to have these conversations. And because we do, I want you to subscribe to my Substack. This is where we have deeper discussions together in community. And please, please follow the YouTube, subscribe for original new series that I'm making just for that channel. We are going to do this together. And I'm going to make sure that we have access to the message and that you can share the message over as many channels as possible. This is how we let Black women in every corner of every crazy fakakta corner of this nation know that they have a community, and that we have safe spaces to talk, ones that are stable and healthy, where people can have an intellectual conversation. We understand critical thinking skills. We all know how to write the 5-point essay. We love social media, but we also believe in doing it in moderation. That's what it's like over there on Substack. It's where the podcast actually lives, even though you can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Music too. So come hang out with me over there on Substack. You're going to love it. The link is down in the description and in the show notes. The next week, get into the journal prompts, especially when you're having a rough patch. You all look for me on live on TikTok. Look for me on live over on Substack. Look for the podcast to drop every Thursday night, Friday morning. And follow me on all the socials so we can be in community there. I love when we follow each other, then y'all can DM me and you can ask me questions and I can try to respond. I keep y'all entertained over on TikTok, and you can always find me at Halicue. And so, we're not really saying goodbye. In probably like 48 hours, you will have a chance to hang out with me and talk with me. Absolutely get on over to the Substack, because that's where you have real access. And we can get into some chats and some notes and some lives and some funny videos, because we deserve some laughter too. The love in the world and in my heart to the beautiful, to the bold, to the brilliant Black women of the 92%. And to everybody else, have the day that you voted for.